welcome back to the big show, Video Game Reviews. Today I'm going to be talking about Sifu on the Nintendo Switch. So who's ready for another hot take? Well, buckle up because here we go. So what is Sifu? Now I want you to imagine this pitch meeting in the company office where they developed this thing, okay? Guy comes in, he thinks he's got a great idea. He says, hey guys, let's turn Virtua Fighter into a beat-em-up game and then mix it with Dark Souls. And then someone else in the room responds, okay, so that's an idea. Or, just spitballing here. What if we developed an idea that wasn't terrible instead? That could be interesting, right? That seems worthwhile. Oh no. Okay, I see. So you want to stick with the first option. Okay, no, that's cool. Just thought I'd put it out there. That's all. Do your thing. I don't know why I felt the need to record that. It's just like the conversation that was playing in my head while I was playing this game, pretty much, and thinking about what I was going to say in a review. Also, I watch a lot of Ryan George, who does like fictionalized comedic pitch meetings, and he is awesome at it. I recommend that you look up Ryan George if you're not familiar with his work already. Anyway, yeah, so that terrible idea happened, and now we have Sifu. And if there wasn't already enough going on with this game, it is also a rogue-lite. On top of being a Virtua Fighter beat-em-up mixed with Dark Souls, it's also a rogue-lite. And come on, guys, know when to pump the brakes. There's such a thing as feature creep. And we'll get into what that is later if you're unfamiliar with the term. It's a game industry term. Anyway, so that's the premise. Let me be clear, I'm not at all opposed to experimenting with combining different genres or subgenres in a single project. That can yield some really amazing results and, even result in the creation of new subgenres, which is a pretty strong achievement for any developer, I would say. I just don't happen to think that they pulled it off in a compelling way here in Sifu. Anyways, that's the premise. I figured it was going to go one of two ways before I got into this game. I figured it's either going to be amazing, meaning that they would have found a way to make all of that come together in a cohesive package, or it was going to be a dumpster fire. However, as with most things, Sifu lands somewhere in between. In my opinion, it's not amazing. It's also not a total dumpster fire. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I heard a lot of people saying that this game was amazing, so I thought I'd give it a shot, even though it didn't necessarily look like my thing, and it's not terrible, but it's also not for me. I've already uninstalled it from my system after finishing the game. I just don't see myself really revisiting this game much. Now, there are, like I said at the beginning about this being a hot take, there are a lot of people that would strongly disagree with me, on that point, and that's totally fine. Everybody's different. Anyway, so let's dig in a little bit. The relatively low poly art style it's not really a plus or a minus for me. I know there are a lot of people that are, may have strong opinions about that, but for me, it's functional. It's fine. Though I will say that Sifu, of course, like most games, does look significantly better on other platforms from what I've seen. If you guys like games that are tough as shit, if you're a Souls player and you want to put a different twist on that formula, I'd say check this out. But it's not for me. So long story short, Sifu is basically a 3D beat-em-up game for Souls players. The combat is, strikes are okay. They're effective in certain situations, but to really get good at this game, it's a lot of blocking, parrying, counters, not even so much evades. I mean, you can evade, but it's actually can be better a lot of times to parry, basically, which is not my jam. Now, it happens to be a lot of people's jam, so if that's your thing, I would suggest that you probably check this game out. I think you're going to have a good time with it. I could be wrong, but let's be honest, probably not. The load times in Sifu are kind of atrocious, so just be aware of that. Loading times on a cartridge or an SD card just doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. I'm sure there are some hardware engineers that could break that down for me, but I thought that was a feature of the CD or the disc medium, and not so much games that were loaded directly onto your hard drive or your SD card or what have you. And I haven't really looked into why that's the case. Maybe like a RAM issue, I don't know. Anybody out there who has any insight? I mean, I could Google it, but this is more fun and it draws more attention to the channel. So if you happen to know the answer to that question, chime in the comments. That would be cool. Also, I just learn better that way. I'm okay researching things on my own, but what really stands out to me is conversations, because frankly, I don't have very many of them. And so if I have a conversation, that thing is cemented, be it online or in person. That's just how it works for me. Now, fortunately with Sifu, because it's crazy hard, dude. I don't care what you say. I mean, if you're a speedrunner, then good for you. But I'm saying most people, like your average player and even above average player, are going to find this game really quite difficult, I think. Fortunately, back in 2022, they did add a much needed easy mode in an update for free. But the loading times are still terrible. They didn't fix that. Now, after getting to actually evaluate the experience on easy mode, because on easy mode, the difficulty isn't so hard. Basically, what I'm saying is like on normal and above, the difficulty is so hard, I can't even evaluate the experience because I'm so busy trying not to get my ass pounded. But again, after playing the game on easy mode, I can say that it is good, in my opinion. It's an improvement with the easy mode, but it still falls a little shy of greatness, in my opinion, even on easy mode. And so so if you remove the difficulty as an obstacle, then you can really see the game design for what it is, and it's okay, in my opinion. It does fall a bit shy of greatness, though it does manage to accomplish being both a good game and an interesting game. Heck, some games that are straight up bad but interesting, meaning they try something new or unusual, even though some of those are still considered worthwhile by some. So surely there's room at the table for a game that is good and interesting, but not necessarily great, like Sifu here. Sifu aims for the stars, but merely winds up orbiting the moon, which is still pretty darn impressive in my opinion. And yes, I know that that's the opposite of the famous turn of phrase, but it does make more sense this way. Anyways, if you're looking for a great beat-em-up roguelite, I would recommend checking out Double Dragon Gaiden, which I've got a review of here on the channel. Now, that's a classic, old-school 2D, Double Dragon game, basically. 2D beat 'em up, but it is just more fun than Sifu, in my opinion. And it's a beat 'em up, and it's a roguelite. Now, if you're looking for a beat 'em up Souls-like, this is probably going to be your game. If you want to try to play Sifu like a standard beat 'em up, you are likely going to be frustrated and very disappointed. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the combat being to really get good at the game, you gotta pretty much master parries and counterattacks and throws and moves like that are a little more intricate. And the fact is that the characters, most of the attacks in the game are very short range, so you're right up on your opponent, and the camera is positioned such that you don't necessarily get a great view of the action. And so timing a parry can be pretty tricky because of that, because the visual cues are hard, or for me at least, harder to recognize than a 2D beat 'em up. The timing of those blocks and everything is just, I don't know, man. I pulled it off, but it certainly wasn't my idea of fun. The aha moment only comes if or when you accept Sifu for what it is. That's how most things in life work, really. Once you approach it and you accept, like, this isn't a 3D beat 'em up, this is a whole new kind of game. And, let me just take it at face value rather than trying to impose my ideas of what a genre is or isn't on this game. Learning all of the mechanics properly does definitely make it a more enjoyable experience, undoubtedly, but it's still just not amazing to me. I consider it to be a moderately successful experimentation in terms of games and system design. It does feature extremely realistic combat that compared to other hand-to-hand fighting games. Again, as I said, kind of what I don't like about it. It's a little, I don't know, man. It's not all that. However, when I play a video game, realistic is just not something that I'm necessarily looking for. Immersive, compelling, addictive, sure. I want to see all those things. Realistic, not at all. Not even remotely looking for a realistic game. I played this game for over 20 hours before finishing it properly. That is to say, getting the good ending. And while I did get immersed in Sifu at times, I can't deny that I mostly found that Sifu felt like a chore to me. It's an interesting game, and it's even technically a good game in a number of ways, but I did not find it enjoyable or compelling. The ending is pretty lousy, which I would be okay with if the game were amazing, but I just don't feel that way about it. Essentially, in my opinion, which many people do not share, and that's totally fine, Sifu focuses too much on doing something innovative, which it does succeed in, by the way, but at the cost of being a fun experience. Again, in my opinion, Sifu feels like it suffered from feature creep, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Yeah, it felt like that to me. And so that is when the developers don't know when to call the project finished and just keep adding features that don't really serve the big picture of the project, but are instead included for the sake of it, basically. Like, oh, could we do this? And then the answer is yes, and they just do it when they should be asking, should we do this? This is a cool idea, but does this serve this project or not? And that's feature creep is basically not asking that question. I have a tendency to do that myself if I'm not careful when I'm writing up design documents and so forth. So I get it. I understand how it can definitely happen, but it is still not an advisable approach. And you need, I don't know, man, an editor or somebody someone a little more conservative on the development team to kind of rein that in. Someone on the team who is focused on just producing the best experience possible. Someone who's focused on user experience, not their fantasy for this weird mishmash of a game. Anyways, look, I'm going to quit rambling about Sifu. It is what it is. I hope I've conveyed, somewhat what this game's all about, and you're able to make your own decision based on that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time, whenever that may be. Bye-bye.
I do not want to fight you. That feeling of vengeance, it will not cease here. I speak from experience. Now leave, or be forced to.